And we should be freaking live. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing?
I don't know if I can trust you anymore. Last time you told me we were live, we just like rambled on for 5 minutes. Okay, I can see we're live now.
Okay, good.
Okay,
Now
we're
now
live,
we know for
guys.
sure.
Hey, everybody. What's up? How you doing?
What up? Welcome to
What it
Darren's
do,
Danger
baby
Room.
boos?
This is the show. That's Darren's show here at the Den of Nerds. Normally, Den of Nerds live, but you know, Warner Brothers.
Some stuff.
Yeah. some
Attack
stuff
of the
happened.
Boomers.
Attack of the Boomers from Warner Brothers. We talked a lot about it off air, and yeah, I'm still grumpy and butthurt about it. And if y'all want to know more of my thoughts about it, feel free to ask me during Q&A because we'll get into it. But I just kind of wanted to say to everybody that this is a show that Darren and I do every Wednesday night, 10 p.m., and we have a bunch of fun talking about all the nerdy stuff. So if you like this show, if you're new to this whole thing, you're like, what's going on over here? Yeah, we're streaming. This is Darren's Danger Room. Go check out our live streaming channel. Whenever this situation is resolved, we will return back to there where we'll have our cool emojis, all of our cool fun stuff.
Yeah.
I see everybody in the chat. What is up? I was late to work today. Warner Brothers' fault. Yeah. Elisa and I.
I'm going to blame everything on Warner Brothers.
Oh, we were doing that all day yesterday. We were looking for a TV stand. We went 0 for 5 at places we went into. And every single time we're walking out, we're like, that was Warner Brothers' fault. Absolutely.
You know, honestly, they threw my whole vibe off. Like, my chakras got unaligned because Warner Brothers just came from my knees, you know?
My chakras are all shocked out, man. Warner Brothers shocked my shakalakas like you wouldn't believe. They're flipping my flapjacks. Anyways, let's talk.
Chakras get unaligned?
Yes, of course they can. Duh.
I don't know their aligning properties. Okay,
I don't know their aligning properties anyway. So, you know, it was a slower news day today, guys. So I talked about on the Nerdy News Rundown a report, a sort of rumor, if you will, about the Book of Boba Fett show. And yes, that rumor is that Luke Skywalker and Grogu will be in the show. So, yeah, I'm actually pretty interested in knowing your thoughts about this. What do you think of this, Miss Darren Wood? Are you pumped that it could be a thing that Luke would be in the Book of Boba?
I'm honestly a little bit torn. I'm not going to lie. And this might be a bad, it might be a bad way to start off for those people who are watching me for the first time. But okay, I'm not going to pretend like I wasn't just like every other Star Wars fan, like when Luke popped up in the finale of Mando season 2. Oh, spoiler alert. Sorry.
Spoiler alert.
But when he popped up, like just the simpleton in me was like, and I was just, it did exactly the things that it would do to any Star Wars fans. And I was Star Wars fan and I was super excited about it. But I think if they keep going down this route of trying to recreate what happened in the original trilogy, it's just going to end up badly for them. And I feel like I first got this inclination when the Solo movie came out, where I was just like, dude, like it's a different game because it's not like a character doing a rendition of a character in a comic book, something that had its origins in literature, that someone can take that and make it their own. And even then when people do it are like, yeah, I thought that person would have brown hair. I thought that person would look like this. But it's like they get to do their own interpretation of it. The characters from the original trilogy are tied to real people, like real actual people or people that, some are still alive today. So it's impossible not to attach that character and their vibe and their essence, their cadence, everything they do to that actor that brought it to life. And so when people go on to, reprise that role, then it always becomes like a version of an impersonation, whether they want to do that or not. And it's different when it's like a side, like I think, Donald Glover, for instance, when he did like Lando, I think he had a little bit more freedom because like Lando, while he was like a, biggish character, he was still like a side character. So there was a little more freedom he had with that. With like Luke, Leia, and Han, they were like the main, the baddies. Like we cannot detach ourselves from the actors that brought them to life. Sure. So it's like they either have to keep doing the CGI thing, which works for like small scenes, few lines, small scenes, or they're going to have to recast it. And if they recast it, I don't know. I worry it's going to be hard to separate the two and just like take the content for what it is when people are expecting something from a character that means so much to them. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah. No, for sure, for sure. Okay, so this is kind of interesting because I see your point. I absolutely see that point, and that. But here's, I guess, there's two sort of rebuttals that I would have, and the one
Mhm.
actually, I want to start with the more weird one, and that is
Ooh,
that.
like weird.
Well, so check this out. I actually thought a lot about the Luke from Mando season 2, the one that you see at the end of the show, because there were a
Right.
lot of people that were like, "Oh man, I'm not feeling this one." I saw some YouTube channels that did like their version where they were like, "It's better than Mando" and all this other stuff, right?
Mhm.
So here's the thing about that. When that dude removed his hood, I instantly felt like that was Luke Skywalker. There was not a question in my mind that that was Luke Skywalker. And it reminded me something of from animation. When I was in art school, we talked about animation, and there was this really interesting concept that faces themselves are actually not photographically perfect representations of what we see. The mind actually moves faces around to give them more personality and make them look more normal, because there's this part of the brain that's activated when you're looking at a cartoon face that's the same thing that gets activated when you're looking at a human face. And there are actually neurons that get made specifically in humans' brains for different faces. You can actually recognize some people that you're very familiar with by looking at the back of their head, because it'll fire
For
certain
sure.
neurons, right?
Yes.
So I guess what I'm saying is, to me, there's this weird thing that you can do where it doesn't need to look like Luke, it needs to fire my Luke neurons, which is a little bit different if
Right.
you're catching what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah,
throwing.
yeah, yeah.
So that's kind
But
of,
that is so hard.
it's
That's what I
hard,
mean. That
but they
that
did it
is
right. I
so
mean,
hard.
for me,
I
it
know, but he had like 2 lines.
true,
You know what I mean? Like
true,
if they're gonna when I hear they're gonna make him a mainstay in Book of Boba, that's why I'm worried, because I'm
yeah,
like, I start thinking of the Rise of Skywalker when they're CGI and Carrie Fisher, and I was, oh
hmm,
my God, like it was painful. Like I
yeah,
was
it was
like,
bad,
dude, like
yeah, it was bad,
stop. Like it was making me super uncomfortable. That's obviously like the extreme other side of it.
yeah,
But I'm just that's what I mean. Like brief lines and cameos. Like I'm not gonna lie, end of Rogue One, I was already crying because I think that Rogue One has one of the best movie endings like of all time, not just like a nerdy
yeah,
Star Wars thing, like just of a movie in general. Like that, I was already like kind of crying because that's Darth Vader scene was so cool and so intense, and cool
yeah.
things make me cry. And then when Leia turned around, I got the same thing where I it was like instant recognition, and then I
Mhm.
just cried. And I was like, oh, Gary. But like then you see the CGI when it's more long term and
Yeah.
Rise of Skywalker, and I was like, oh, I hate it. Like
But you
I
know what?
hate
That's
it.
why I think it's so funny, because ultimately this takes the conversation to a really interesting place, because I think one of the problems with the Rise of Skywalker is JJ was so stuck on using that footage of Carrie because he was trying to pay some weird homage to her, and it just didn't
Yeah.
work. So he was so stuck on almost what you were talking about before, and that is attaching that actor to the performance, and it just flat out didn't work,
Mm,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't know if because I just really think that was sort of a huge mistake. And had they done something more like what they did with Tarkin in Rogue One, which we just watched Rogue One again last night,
Oh yeah,
it's
Tarkin looks
so good.
great in
It's
what? Wait,
so
yes, you're
good.
totally right. Tarkin looks great in Rogue One.
So it's
I
like
totally forgot about
So it's like
that.
you don't necessarily need to make them look like the
Yeah.
character. You need to make it instantly feel like the character to the mind, right? Which is a little bit different. Now, I do agree with you
Yeah.
though that it's tough to do that over a long period of time with where they were at. But we can imagine that that process and that whole thing is getting easier and better. And
Mhm.
that hopefully they will do more. I also think too, just on a side note, that his appearance in Book of Boba will probably be slight. I don't think he's going to play a huge
Yeah.
role. It'll be similar to what happened in Mando 2, where maybe he shows up and Deus Ex Machinas them out of a situation or something, and then rolls into some other crazy thing, right? But ultimately, they can only play hide the Luke for so long, and if he is actually going to be in Book of Boba, then a lot of the rumors of him maybe getting his own show or playing this huge part in the sort of the connected story moving forward, those could be real, and we can only hope, I guess, in my opinion, that the tech catches up, right? Because if it gets
Yeah.
even better than where it was, and you have that same artist team and that same creative people over there, and they nail that feeling, I'm not going to be so personally caught up on whether or not it looks like Mark Hamill. as long as my Luke Skywalker neurons are firing. You know what I mean? Like if I'm buying it in the moment, like as an example in Battlefront 2, the campaign,
Mhm.
there's a mission where you meet Luke, and yo, I'm telling you, it felt so like Luke. Like I was like,
Yeah.
dang, like this is Luke. Like, and it was also Luke that we hadn't seen because it was like old, get off my lawn, Luke in the sequels. This was like Luke
Mhm.
being Luke, and it felt right, it looked right, and it was the same freaking guy, I believe, that played him in Mando. They got the same actor that does a lot of
Mm.
those movements and portrays him in the video game thing. They got that guy and did a bunch of CG work and crazy stuff to make
Yeah.
him feel like Luke. So it's a good point. I see your point, but I'm not sure if it's
Yeah.
as, you know what I'm saying? Like it might be a little bit of a different story.
Alright, you're giving me more hope. I'm not gonna lie, that gave me a little bit more hope. Thank you for rising my expectations
Let's
because
go.
yeah, he looked great. In Mando, he looked fucking great. Like
Yeah.
he really, really did, and I was so stunned by that. But you said you had 2 rebuttals.
Yeah, so the
What
second
is
one, and this one's a little bit just more like grumpy or whatever, is that I think they used literal Mark Hamill in The Last Jedi, and many Star Wars fans would tell you that ain't my Luke. Like that wasn't Luke at all, bro. So like getting the actor again, even to
Yeah,
do an actual performance, does
yeah,
not necessarily mean that people feel like that's their person. So I think
yeah.
with Luke,
That's fair. Mark
with
Hamill is one of the kookiest dudes on this planet,
he
though,
is.
so
He's super kooky, and I love Mark Hamill. I appreciate Mark Hamill. He also, by the way, tried to warn them about that. He tried to warn them about what they were doing with Luke.
yeah,
But
he's like a no. I mean, he's like fucking number one voice actor supreme. Like, if he can lend that to this franchise and they can find the same actor guy who did the movements in Mando and they can make it brief, it has to be brief scenes.
yeah,
It cannot be. I I feel like it kind of has to be a character that like emotional cruxes of the show aren't reliant on.
sure,
Which sounds weird to say because like that was a big reveal emotional moment at the season finale of Mandalorian season 2.
yeah,
But what I mean is like like when they were having those conversations with Carrie Fisher in The Rise of Skywalker that you could tell were supposed to be like character development
mm,
moments for other characters that they were playing against the CGI character, it did not hit. Like, I think it just has to be like certain plot device moments, but it can't be to the extent that they put like this long ass 5
yeah,
minute scene
for
with a
sure.
CGI character.
Especially
But
dialogue scenes, like you know what I mean. Like,
yeah,
why did they
the
make
mouth is always weird. The mouth is always weird.
the
It's
mouth
always
is
like,
weird? And even like Luke was a little bit strange, like in some of his stuff. But again, it feels like Luke enough to just be like everybody's like just so caught up in the moment. The music's great too. But yeah, I would say like they can't unless they get that tech like nailed. Because by the way, I think the future, which is a really weird, scary future for actors, is that you won't need actors at all. You won't need them at all. You'll bring actors in and do like a full on scan thing. You'll have them read some document that will give all of the nuances of all of the different things. And then you'll recreate performances in AI.
yeah.
100% you will. That's the
I
future.
think I don't know. Yes and no. I feel like there is a place for that, like Love, Death, and Robots, where you get that super like hyper realistic animation where you're like, oh my, feels like
Yeah.
it's a real person. But like the same way that I feel like hairdressers are never going to go away, anything that involves like a personal touch, that I just feel like there's always going to be a market and a place for real performances.
No, there certainly will be, but I mean, if you think about it, I mean, even for an actor, it makes sense because I mean, think about it. You could literally multiply the amount of work you're able to do, and what if you could
Right.
like sign a contract for your likeness and your performance? You know what I mean? To be created and recreated
Yeah,
in
I
any
could
way.
see like sitcoms doing that maybe, like things that are a little more commercialized, a little more turned out at a higher quantity,
Hmm.
employing that tactic and also maybe for animation things or maybe just kind of using that what's that mapping 3D mapping
Yeah, yeah,
thing.
yeah, like the Hulk
But
stuff.
I don't know.
You know how they're
I
gonna do
think
it too?
like
You know what they're gonna do, Darren? Because I think they're already doing this with James Dean. I think they're bringing James Dean back
like the
to be a yeah. So
holograms.
here's what they're gonna do. They're gonna be like, Well, you know who the new freaking Iron Fist is? Bruce Lee in his prime. And
Oh
people are gonna
my
be like,
god.
"Fucking what?" And then they'll show it to you, and you'll be like, "I don't believe what I'm seeing, but I must see more." And then like you'll kind of like check it out like that. I'm telling you, it's on the way.
Yeah.
It's on the way. They already do
Okay,
it in
but
animation.
I feel like that's similar to like you remember when the hologram thing started becoming a real thing? Like
Hmm.
the one and only Coachella I ever went to was the one with the Tupac hologram. And I'm
Nice.
not gonna lie, that was realistic. Like I was shocked. Like I was like, holy shit, like this
Yeah.
is like fucking act this is really surprisingly realistic. I'm like weirded out. But it
Yeah.
didn't feel like a real concert. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
doesn't have that same vibe as realism. Like there are just certain things you can't fake, and the human experience and our ability to pick up like pheromones and intonations and the way someone's facial expressions like make us feel like yes, you'll always be able to quantify it to a degree, but I just never think it'll replace the real thing. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know,
That's
man.
my human experience optimism. I
Well,
don't know. I just
yeah, man, it's funny because I just really feel the opposite. You know what I mean? I feel like it's gonna go in a crazy direction because I'm sitting back and think, especially like if you think about Feige, right? So let's
yeah.
go down this journey for a second. You talk about the greatest producer of all time, right? What's one of the
Yeah.
things that's holding him back, right? Is contracts and actors. I mean,
Right.
frankly, the whole situation with Tom
Like one of the
Holland.
hardest thing to do. Just have
Oh,
to watch the Game of Thrones documentary to realize that scheduling and contracts is like the number
It's
one
crazy.
hang up.
It's crazy. What they accomplished with Endgame is ridiculous, right? And I'm sure they'll do
Yeah.
more, moving forward and they'll move mountains. But I mean, think about this. If he could have, instead of had all those actors on that big lot to shoot Endgame together, if he could have instead had them sign a contract and be like, yeah, we're going to recreate your it'll be like just like you were there, you'll get paid this amount and you do nothing. And by the way, he could use them in any way he wanted in all sorts of appearances. I mean, like the value proposition of that, like the value created for that for the consumer might be just too crazy to say no to. You know what I mean? Like we can get Iron Man forever as Robert Downey Jr. You know what I
Yeah. I
mean?
actually have a different my hope and my theory for the future is a little bit different. I feel like technology will advance in a way it'll free people up. And my hope and my dream is that our society figures out a way to make technology and the economy serve us instead of what's going on now where we're like a slave to it.
Mm.
And in the opposite end of that it'll give the opportunity for actors to provide more performances maybe that aren't physically in person
There you go. Yeah, I can see that.
instead of like or like just doing an AI CGI version of it. I see technology freeing us up to do more as opposed to take things away from us.
That could absolutely work. I mean, essentially, like you're kind of talking about doing like a VR almost sort of
Yep.
thing, right? Shooting in VR,
Yep.
which is only a few steps removed from what they're doing on the sound stages and all this crap, with Disney. So
Exactly.
yeah, you could
Fucking
absolutely do
3D
that.
mapping.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. The future is gonna be wild.
This is the weirdest. Like
It's
we
so
went in
weird. I
the
know.
weirdest direction.
I
This
know.
always happens though. Every time we think we're talking about something chill, it always it's like in the society at large.
I know, right?
Like,
And
you
then
know.
society. We live in a society, you know.
If you think about the world, and the ramifications of
Yes, yes. And then friggin' neurons that are tied
we
to
just
the.
steeple finger the fuck out of
I know, right?
we're just
Chaos.
like
Chaos is a latte. Well, let me ask you this then, just kind of, I guess, taking it back to the Luke of it all. And I do see the super
yeah.
chats and everybody. We're going to go for like 10, 15 more minutes of just blurbing, and then we'll get into questions and answers and see what y'all are saying. But I had this thought that beyond just the technology side of it and sort of that concern, one of my sort of theories here is that they're recreating a great story from basically what is now considered legends. And this was the Heir to the
Mm,
Empire trilogy of the Thrawn novels. Now, for most people that were hardcore Star Wars fans, after the OT in the canon, you were like, what's next? And then Timothy Zahn creates these novels with this character Thrawn, and he's replaced the Emperor, and all this like crazy stuff's happening. But it's Luke, Han, and Leia, their
yeah.
story moving forward. And for a lot of people, that was just the sequels. That was the sequels. And frankly, they're way better than the Disney sequels, just in general. I think even if you like the sequels, you probably have to admit Heir to
Yeah.
the Empire as a trilogy was incredible. So I think Dave might be recreating that time with Luke before he gets too old and disenchanted and gets, the whole Ben Solo thing happens. I guess just generally speaking, like, what do you think about that? Like, would you respond to that? You've kind of already said, like, I don't know if I want sort of more Luke or whatever, but if they gave you a really good, kind of expansive story that Luke just happened to be involved with, what do you think?
I think my opinions are kind of similar to the previous point in regards to, like we've talked about in times. All I want is for Star Wars to go into the extended universe and
Yeah.
like not like post Disney canon, like just pre Disney extended universe, like all the lore and all the content that was just created for them that they just have at their fingertips. I would love for them to go in that direction and love for them to explore other characters.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just kind of feel like from what I've seen, and this is just me like observing the Star Wars fandom and the like trajectory of their new universe, that every time they try to come back to this Skywalker saga, it's kind of a fool's errand. Like it's just sorry, burp.
Burp count.
Burp count one. I talked about this before in like another YouTube video where it's just like it's hard for people to imagine this, but it's just like you're messing with characters that people made an emotional allegiance with when they were children, right? And so it's like you are messing with something that people hold so precious and so dear to their heart that no matter what you do, someone is always going to be upset. Someone's always not going to like it. And I think that's why the sequel trilogy went the way it went, because you had J.J. Abrams being like, okay, if we're just going to look at the data here, people like when Star Wars stays the same. Like I made like a carbon copy replica of the first trilogy, and look how good it did. And then Rian Johnson goes in another direction. People are like, yeah, Star Wars. So it's like instead of taking like the real nuggets of wisdom from that, they just kind of took like the the very obtuse outside general perspective of that, and that's what makes me worry about it, because I'm just like, I don't know if I've ever seen Star Wars Disney Star Wars as a company approach the Skywalker saga with the nuance it deserves.
Yeah.
And other than the Clone Wars animated show and like Rebels later on, I don't know. I like the Star Wars fan in me is scared, and it would rather just like watch them explore other characters and like really lean into that instead of watching them try to just like recreate the magic of like seeing Star Wars for the first time in the 70s. Like it's not going to happen, bro. You're never going to get that moment back. Stop trying to make people devote themselves to Star Wars like the way they did in the 70s. The historical context is totally different now. Just like be authentic about it. Tell a good story. Give people a reason to love it the way that anyone loves something that feels good inside. And I think that in that same thread, though, which is also why this is like I'm like a little torn, I think Thrawn is kind of like the perfect vessel for that. Right. And so it's like kind of that character that has its foot in both universes now that he's like been in Rebels and stuff. So I think if it's Thrawn first, Luke, a touch of Luke, then I think we're in good territory.
Okay, yeah, I can get down with that. And I can agree, too, because you don't really want Luke just cutting it up and destroying everybody and, like, ending everything. I mean, I'd like him to be involved. And frankly, like, I think it would be cool to see more of Luke in his prime. I guess what I'm really just searching for as a fan is, like you're absolutely right, because they need to go forward and they need to do something new. Like Star Wars needs its new fresh coat of paint, and it needs its new thing. And I'm hopeful actually that Kevin Feige's movie with Michael Waldron can be that and can be this really new fresh take and set us like in a really cool new direction. But at the same time, like the sequel trilogy felt to a lot of fans, and I know there are fans out there that like it, and that's awesome, but to a lot of fans, it felt like such a mishandling of George's stuff that in some ways I think we're still looking for the toys to be put back on the shelf, right? You know what I mean? So, like, with the possibility of doing such a great and also very different story than we've seen before, and that was the one for the sequels, because at the end of the day, a sequel, it becomes Palpatine again, and to make Thrawn a new villain specific and doing something maybe pretty wild, because they might do something a little bit different than the novels, I would hope, and maybe expand it. But that could be something to really excite fans, get them excited about that time period. And technically, Disney did at least leave that as an option because they wouldn't touch the 30 years between episode 7 and episode 6. They were so hesitant because, frankly, they didn't have a plan, right? Well, now you can get the guy, Dave Filoni, to go in there and be like, well, here's what actually happened and fill that out. And I think we're safe. But I will say that if we're still, like, if 5 years from now we're still making movies in between all the movies and stuff, like, we're in trouble. Like, they need to do something fresh and do something new. But I think that maybe in the meanwhile, I mean, think about it, like, Obi-Wan is total nostalgia play, but who doesn't want to see freaking Obi-Wan? You know what I mean? Like, there's plenty of stuff to still be doing, checking things off the list, making fans feel loved and all that. But yeah, regardless, you do have to move into something new for Star Wars.
I think there's a difference for that though, because like Alan, who was the guy who played him in the original trilogy, Obi-Wan?
Oh, Alan McGinnis.
Alan McGinnis. Yep. He was in it for like, couple minutes, right? Yep. Like while he was like a big character, he honestly didn't have much in regards to like storylines. So it's kind of like the same thing with Donald Glover and Lando. Yeah. When Ewan McGregor did Obi-Wan in the prequel trilogies, he kind of became Obi-Wan. You know what I mean? So it's like the person who played him is still alive and can still be that person. So that I feel like is a little bit different, but I also think, I mean, we've said this a million times, that's kind of Dave Filoni's genius. Like he's picking the parts that really work well and that he knows will bridge the gap. So I'm just so happy Dave Filoni's there. Like, honestly, it's putting so much of like my Star Wars stress to rest because it's like everything that I've liked by Star Wars, I feel like in the last few years is from Dave Filoni. And like all these plans, like bringing Thrawn in, like doing the Obi-Wan show, like using Ewan McGregor because we have him. He's alive. He's there. He's
looking good.
He's looking good. He's young. He loves Star Wars. He's always loved it. It's like
he does. It's cool.
Bringing people as enthusiastic about the projects as he is, like I'm just happy. I'm just happy Dave Filoni's here, and I am trusting that he is pulling the right threads. I have my own gripes with the Mandalorian series, but I based on the title of this video, I have a little more faith in the Book of Boba.
Yeah, so let's get into that. Let's just do a real quick take on that, and then we'll get into Q&A. Do you think that Book of Boba will be better than The Mandalorian? What do you think? Is it possible?
Yes, because now that Dave Filoni's in this creative director role, I think that Star Wars finally has a vision for their franchise, and that Book of Boba is kind of like the first iteration of that. Like my whole gripe with the Mandalorian show in general was Jon Favreau's take on it being a Western samurai movie monster of the week kind of thing, which I know is a stylistic choice. I'm not saying it's like the wrong choice, but it was just something to me personally that just didn't appeal as much, you know? And so using that as the first thing to build a larger franchise, I thought was a little bit of an odd choice. And then, comes season 2, right? Then you have like all these different directors all putting their own creative take on the show. And making it more of something with connective tissue and making it more of like a franchise thing where the Mandalorian season 1 did feel like a fun side project, which I was kind of like, it's not for everybody. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
And so now that I feel like there is a plan in place, I'm like really excited for like,
No,
I feel like it's going to be our first
for sure. No, I think that's fair. It's like part of it is like Mando 1 is almost them being like, can we do this? Like, can we pull this off? You know what I mean?
Yes.
And like, I know, right? I love Mando season 1, but like, it is not that great compared to a lot of other season 1s. Like, dude, I tell people this all the time. Daredevil season 1 blows Mando season 1 out of the water as a narrative.
I feel like that's such an unfair comparison, though, because Daredevil season 1 blows everything out of the water.
True.
Like, it's one of the best shows of all time.
True.
Like, truly and honestly.
True,
it's like not even superhero stuff. Like,
for sure, but
good.
Come on, tell me you didn't like want that out of Star Wars. You know what I mean? There was this feeling for me where I was like, oh man, like what if it is that level, right? I haven't seen something Daredevil season 1 level.
Oh yeah, you're like first of the platform, which is kind of like what Daredevil was. You're like Marvel on Netflix, like going to be? And so you're like,
Right.
Star Wars on Disney Plus,
And
what's
it's
it going to
not
be? I
that.
get that. I
It's
get
not
that.
that. And I remember the first episode, particularly because it was directed by Dave, and I am such a Dave Filoni simp, right? I was like, yo, Dave,
Yes.
that's great. And honestly, it wasn't that great. Where I was like, ooh, Dave, like you got to get better at this live action thing was kind of what I was thinking. And I felt like his episode 5 really needed a lot of work. But there was a magic to that season. I don't know exactly how or why, but there was some good stank coming off of those episodes where like maybe it was just the juxtaposition of this compared to what we were getting in the sequels or whatever, but the vibe was strong with Mando season 1, and I did end up really loving where it went. The finale, I felt like it was fantastic. There was a lot of stuff that I absolutely loved about it, right? But Mando 2 is almost a completely different show. Like, it almost feels like they were like, this is the show we wanted to make the first time, but also with all this connective tissue. Like, it's crazy how many people show up, get set up, and then come back later, and it really does feel like we're getting the band together, et cetera, et cetera. I expect Book of Boba to even be a continuation and acceleration of that kind of plan, right? Where, like, yo, you're going to see a lot of people. You're going to see a whole bunch of bounty hunters. You might see some other crazy baddies. You'll see Luke. You'll see Mando. You're going to see everybody because that's what the whole thing is going to be now. Like, they're trying to push that connective tissue and that whole thing. So I expect Book of Boba to be absolutely incredible. And then I expect Ahsoka to be even better. And then when they finally do Mando season 3, which I do still think is going to happen, man, I expect Mando season 3 to just be on a whole nother level, and then just to continue to push and push and push, which would ultimately be great. But until that happens, I think the Book of Boba is going to be much better than Mando season 2, which to me is crazy because I think Mando season 2 is probably the best completed show of a season of a show on Disney Plus. Like it destroys WandaVision, it destroys Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it destroys the first season of Mando. So for me, I put it on like it's at the tippy top for me. Loki right now is a close second in my opinion, but yeah.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I'm like on Disney Plus as of now. Loki is like fucking elbowing everybody out of the way. But no, I totally agree with that. I think that. And that's kind of one of the things that does make me so excited for Book of Boba. Like you said, I feel like Mando 2 was kind of a completely different show, which just kind of lends itself to my theory that like Disney is just, and Star Wars at Disney is just has no idea what they're doing. And it's just like figuring this out now.
Yeah.
Like they're just getting their footing and they're figuring it out now, which if they figure it out in these next couple of shows, like, I mean, come on. If you're a Star Wars fan, like you're a simp. I'm a simp. We're all going to watch every show. We can bitch and moan and complain about how bad it is, but guess who's showing up at every premiere? Showing up for every show.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I think we will be showing up, but I do think too. You know, it was funny just to talk about this briefly before we get into Q&A.
Yeah.
With Loki, with this newest episode, did you see the newest episode?
I did.
So here's the deal.
Yes,
I found it pretty interesting that the internet in some ways sort of turned on Loki. There were a lot of people saying they thought this was filler. They were really worried.
Yeah.
A lot of people were like, we're going to get bonered again, referring to the whole Kang thing, because it's like we're 3 episodes and we're halfway there and no sign of Kang. I don't believe it. Marvel, and I saw a lot of people also saying Marvel show's been starting so strong and then they end so poopy. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I think it's kind of, I don't want to say objectively because, you know, if you love the show, you love the show, and I love that for you. But I feel like a general consensus was that this episode was a little bit slower going off of like what the first 2 episodes did. The first 2 episodes were so like magnanimous. Like so many things happened and it was just such an efficient display of like storytelling and action. It was just like a delight. And this is one where the show kind of like, you know, petered out a little bit and like sat in the story, which is, you know, different than what we expected from the first 2 episodes. So yeah, this one was a little bit slower. I don't know. I'm a little torn on this episode. This is the Darren's Danger Room of being torn. I'm a little torn on this episode. I don't know, because I obviously still really liked it, but there were certain parts that I feel like I'm waiting for other episodes to make better, if that makes sense.
No,
it
totally.
it laid some groundwork that I'm like waiting for the payoff, but I'm cool with waiting for the payoff because it's a TV show. Like I don't expect every episode to, finish me off. I feel like
Right.
I can wait.
Yeah.
I can take the slow burn. I'm an adult.
Yes.
So yeah. I mean, let's talk about it. How'd you feel about it?
Well, I mean, okay, so we watched it again earlier, and I liked it a little bit better the second time. I think
Mm.
there's a lot of good in it, but it's such a I don't know, the pace it makes it feel so short. I think it's really the problem. Like because it's the
I
shortest
mean,
episode, but it's not
yeah, I
just
was like about to say, I'm like, isn't it like 30 minutes, 34 minutes?
yeah,
Or
so it's the shortest episode, but it's not just that, it's the pacing. Like the pacing can make a really short episode feel like a long episode. There
Mhm.
were episodes of Mando season 2 that were not that long, but to me felt like they were paced incredibly well and they give you this satisfying feeling at the end of
Yeah.
it. I just went on an adventure. I thought it was dope, right? So this episode was like paced pretty strangely. It abruptly stops. Like it just feels like it
Yeah.
abruptly stops. It also feels like it's really part 1 of 2 and it's wedged in this weird spot in the middle of the season.
Right.
So, I don't know. I think that depending on what happens next, we'll be more or less forgiving of this episode. I didn't really mind it much at all, but I guess my general takeaway was, man, Marvel fans right now are not as like I guess just I'm gonna be that guy again and talk about the boner. I think that the boner may well be causing a lot of people to still sort of be hesitant and be like, I don't know if I can go all in with my hype. I don't know if I can go all in with my expectations for the show because I feel like I've been burned. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean because at the same time, I feel like I'm having deja vu. Like we had these same exact conversations where it's like with WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we're like, maybe the stuff will pay off later, and then it didn't. So I can
Right.
see how Marvel fans will be like, oh no, it's happening again. The show's slowing down. The show is slowing down. I still have confidence based on what happened in the first 2 episodes that it
Yeah.
is going to make up for it. But at the same time, I felt like this was an episode where it slowed down intentionally to let Sylvie have her moment or to give credence or give real opportunity for these characters to have their moment and maybe get to know each other. And I guess I was expecting that kind of like Mobius Loki chemistry or maybe to really lean into Sylvie to really get to know her, and then I didn't get that, so I was kind of confused why we slowed down. I was like, okay, well, if I'm not really even getting Sylvie and I'm not really getting even Sylvie Loki, then like, what
Yeah.
are we slowing down for? I'm a little bit confused, like, because
Yeah.
I felt like that was the intention, and then it didn't really deliver in that regard, which was weird because I felt like, oddly, my favorite moment of Sylvie was that scene where she was in the mind of that TVA agent. And I saw that I don't know what the actress's name is, but I was like, oh, I see this, this actress has like the stones for a good performance. I could see her subtle shift of intensity when she was like changing the tone of the questions. And
Yeah.
I thought that was a really strong way to start the episode. I was like, oh, okay, I like this lady Loki. This chick's like, she's got some,
Yeah.
complexity to her. It's going to be a good performance. And then I was kind of disappointed from the rest of the episode because I was just like,
It's pretty one note after that.
yeah, I was
She's
like,
just quick
from
to be angry and is bitchy, and that's it. That's pretty much it. That's her whole personality. And there were some moments in the episode where, there's this little moment where after he tries to convince the old lady by pretending to be her husband and they both get like knocked down next to each other, there was this moment where she says, what was that? Was that politics or guile? And Tom Hiddleston goes, don't, just don't. But the way he delivered it was so awkward because of the way she was acting. And if I felt like in my
yeah,
head, I was like, geez, that's the best take of that they got. And so for me, I'm like, yo, she's, what's funny is she's actually really good physically. In the role, in the
yeah,
physicality parts of the episode, she really
yeah.
shines. But how
So,
weird.
that's exactly what I was. Sorry to cut you
Yeah,
off.
you're
Go
good.
ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying,
No,
like, it's a weird juxtaposition. She nails one aspect of it, and then they give her a talkie-talkie episode, and that's not her strong suit.
I was just about to say, like, I felt like that first scene alone with the TVA agent was a great introduction of her character. I was like, oh, I like this actress. I like seeing like the subtle notes and the way that she can shift her vibe and her performance. And the physicality was great, but it was honestly, I think it's like her and Tom Hiddleston's chemistry. Like it was not hitting. Like
Yeah.
I think that might be it because we're so used to the Owen Wilson Tom Hiddleston chemistry, then going to their chemistry, I was like, I don't know. It was just not hitting for me. And maybe that's by design, maybe we will be so surprised later and we're just going to be like, it's going to be this big reveal. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I was a little bit disappointed because I was kind of waiting for that main character energy and then I never got it. Like I felt like this was her main character episode. And Tom Hiddleston ended up taking all the shine.
Yeah, for
Which
sure.
is he like had all the lines and then all of her lines were like reactionary lines.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just I don't know about that. Actually, I'm like thinking this in my mind. I was about to say maybe it's Tom Hiddleston's performance that was stealing the shine, but then I'm thinking about like Ragnarok, right? Like Tessa
Right.
Thompson,
Yeah.
Jeff Goldblum, they were able to like steal the scene with little
Yeah, they're
lines. I
phenomenal.
don't know. Maybe it's the writing. I don't know what it was. There's something about the chemistry though. I can't put my finger on it, but
Yeah, yeah. And I always have this question in my mind when an episode is just kind of seemingly randomly much shorter than the other ones. Like, up, what went wrong here? Like, what did they have to cut down? You know what I mean? Because I'm sure they had plenty of footage, right? It just might have been a thing where they were like, yo, this is the cleanest version of this. And yeah, we had to cut out a lot. You know what I mean? Because this just dragged it down. This didn't work here. This wasn't good. I will say this the show is beautiful. The visuals
dude,
are incredible.
literally that was like on my mind and notes for something to discuss. Like this episode was like what this show, the set design and execution of like everything in this show is absolutely next level.
Yeah.
Like absolutely insane. And like I think, I always talk about like the little things that people like, maybe not notice and maybe not appreciate. Those like long shots in these big sets where there's people falling here, fighting here, like that takes so much choreography and so much like contributions from all these different actors and producers and director. Like it is a full production and they are doing that in like every set and every scene of this show. It's wild. Like this show's set production is insane. Like
It's
absolutely. And even the little things, right? It's like even when they're like CGIing things or, putting them in these like because they're always like changing like the colors and the tones, of the show. And they'll do the little things of like doing in post the shadows correctly and like color correcting. It's so phenomenal. Like
It's nuts.
It's a truly stunning project.
Yeah, and
Like-
I think it just gives so much scope to the show, which was something really missing in
Right.
my opinion from the other shows. And I was joking on the watch party. I was like,
Oh yeah.
is this where the Falcon and the Winter Soldier budget went? Because like holy
Right?
shit, like what? It looks so great and it has such scale compared to that show, which was supposed to be this international spy thing, going on or
Yeah.
whatever. No scope to that show at all,
Well, we joked about that where we're like, I feel like Falcon and the Winter Soldier took place in like 7 different warehouses, whereas
Pretty
like
much.
Loki gets like all these different planets with different colors and
It was like
different
an indie
costumes.
movie, dude. It was like an indie movie. And you know what else? Like just not to go down that road again, but there's so many close-ups in the last episode.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch it, it's just a telltale sign that they had to reshoot the shit out of that and they did not want a lot of the background in these shots. It's very close on a lot of the actors in weird spots. Like that whole literally the last episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I thought was borderline garbage. Like I thought it was horrible, and I was so shocked that actually critics actually woke up to this fact because it's like the lowest rated Rotten Tomatoes score of the whole
Yeah.
series, like by a lot. Like it's a really low score compared to the rest of the show, and I was like, dude, I love Marvel, but I'm kind of glad that they got caught on this one because they need to like learn that they can't just put out that kind of garbage and expect people to eat it up because it's got a Marvel logo on the lunchbox. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, hey, it is what it is.
But I am curious though, because I was a little I'm still not quite sure how I felt about their like bonding scene,
Yeah, the romance.
because like right. Okay. So at first I was like, it seems like this is a little weird, like a little sudden. But then when I like really thought about it, I was like, okay, well, if you met like another version of yourself, you would be a little more endeared to them, like
Right.
you might
Yeah.
be a little more open, a little more curious. I'll give them that. Okay. If you met another version of yourself, you'd be like, what's up, other Darren, other Josh?
Yeah.
And then you wouldn't have to do so much work in getting to know each other because you're them.
Yeah.
And so, all right, I'll give them that
Yeah.
excuse,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
though that
Yeah.
didn't play immediately to it. But I don't know, like, what do you feel about this? Like, it's an implied romance,
Yeah.
right? Like, I'm not crazy. Like, that was an implied romance.
Yeah, it's really weird. I am really not sure what's going on. I have a theory
Yeah.
on it though. I have a theory, and really on the second on the second viewing, I formulated a pretty good theory about it. And it was somebody that sort of pointed out that a lot of weirdness happens
Yeah.
from the moment when she wakes up on the train. Okay. So when she wakes up on the train, Loki's drunk and not wearing his uniform, and the whole thing goes crazy from there. And he's still really cavalier about everything, even after they destroyed the whole time thingy, the like iPhone that gets them back to the TVA. So my thing is, I think he may have enchanted her while she was asleep. And he is actually like, none of what we just saw happen post her waking up actually happened. And he's continuing to try to find more information out from her, which is part of the reason why he's playing up the romance element, because he's seeing that perhaps that could be a way to sort of break her down or get into her psyche a little bit more, which I would love, because he even sold me on it. It was so enduring. It seemed like he really liked her. And I was like, dang, this is really weird. But also, this Loki variant has been through so much crap that, like, hey, man, if this brings you some joy and, like, you're feeling it, like, that's fine. Like, and that's cool. But also was like, man, it's a little not Loki. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's bizarre. It's weird. Maybe it means something completely different. Or maybe they'll end up happily ever after and have little Loki babies.
Yeah, I kind of got a same inkling where I was just like, what's real? I'm having a lot of like, that's kind of one of the reasons why I like about the show. I keep like inside burping this episode.
Those can be painful, those inside burps.
Yeah,
I
you
get
just gotta
heartburn
rumble
from
them
them
up the
sometimes.
inside. But that's one of the reasons I love this show, is because I have a hard time deciphering what's real and not, and I think that lends itself to the intrigue.
Yeah.
I was very surprised to see them do an implied romance between the two of them, because I'm
Yeah.
like, if these are both Lokis and they make them have a romance, that is so weird and so like meta that I would not expect Disney to go down that route. And if they do that, I will honestly be very impressed,
Yeah.
because that is like a weird storytelling device that I never expected to see in a Disney franchise. But at the same time, at first glance, I was like, yeah, that's super weird. It's like incest. But then when I really thought about it, I was just like, actually, I don't think it's that weird. Like,
But
and maybe that makes me weird. I don't think it's weird. Like, I think
Well,
it's the ultimate love story for a narcissist.
It is the ultimate love story for a narcissist, but I gotta be honest with you, like, there's just something at a gut level that felt wrong about it. Like, I don't know, like, I'm no prude, like, for sure. I'm like, hey, man, do your thing. Like, different strokes, different folks. Like, I'm not gonna kink shame you, but also at a base level, it felt weird. I was like, dude, this feels weird. It doesn't feel okay. Like, it doesn't feel okay. And I'm wondering how much, I asked, we did a little poll on it. A lot of people liked it, actually. A lot of people were down with that. So maybe we're in the minority here. You know what I mean? Maybe people were shipping them.
I'm not going to lie, though. I didn't think it was that weird. Like, I thought it was kind of like exactly what a trickster god narcissist would love.
Yeah.
Like just like continuous circle jerk of themselves. Like, I finally get to,
Can I ask another question that's bugging me? This is something else that's bugging me about the show. Why are none of the Lokis that we've seen so far, including female Loki, why did none of them reveal their true form? Why are none of them frost giant-y? You know what I mean? Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Loki look like a frost giant? Isn't that his natural form? And then he constantly projects an illusion. So if he's at the TVA, shouldn't he look like he's a frost giant? You know what I mean? I don't know. That maybe just a little thing, but that's kind of like
I feel like that is a thing that they established in the second Thor movie, that Marvel is just making a decision to be like, no.
yeah, maybe. Yeah,
And
I don't
like,
know.
it's literally like an aesthetic decision that they're like, yeah, we're not going to do that. That's too complicated. No,
Yeah.
no, thank you. No. And yeah, I don't know. Is fucking yourself incest? That's the question of the century.
I don't think so. I mean, I wouldn't consider it. I mean, especially because it's different versus, right?
Yeah. And it's
So.
like, that's what every narcissist really wants, you know, someone to worship them. And
I don't know. I go back and forth on it because, like, trust me, I've got a few narcissistic tendencies. You know what I mean? Nobody makes a YouTube channel and says,
Yeah.
without a little bit of that. But even me, I'm like, I don't know, bro.
I was thinking about it too, and I watched the show. I was like, I would never be able to date myself. That's too insane. Can't have two people who want, you know, that much attention in one relationship.
Especially like the opposite sex version of you. Because like as much as, you know, we don't want to like maybe admit this or whatever, but that's still a pretty foreign concept. Like to me, I would be like, how much is this me? You know what I mean? Like how different are you now? You like what? You know what I mean? I don't know. Do you picking up what I'm setting down?
I exactly pick up what you're putting down, because I think base level us and immature us, like primate us, like meaning just like people in general, always get attracted to people who are like us and that exhibit certain similarities and personality traits that remind us of ourselves. But ultimately, when we end up dating someone who is exactly like us, I don't think
horrible.
it works out.
Yeah.
It never works out. Like you could date someone with like, you know, similar interests. That's the way to go. Similar interests and things that are compatible. But when you date yourself, hard yikes.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's but you know what? The show is freaking making us talk about very interesting concepts. You know what I mean?
Again, we did it again, Josh. This always happens. We're talking about Loki, and now we're talking about like the relationship dynamics of like dating someone that's similar to you. Yeah. How do we do this? We did it so many times.
I don't know. It's magic. This magic moment. All right, let's tear through these super-supas.
Close to mine.
Okay, so Matthew K with a $5 holla says, "Yo, power went out today. It's hot down here in Miami. Shit. Everyone said send good vibes to Florida Power and Light. May the force be with them and me." Holy crap, that would be absolutely awful. The power went out in freaking Florida? Whew, okay.
I just watched In the Heights, and Dan was telling me that like that used to happen a lot in the 90s and early 2000s, that like there would just be rolling blackouts in the hot summers of New York and people would just be out of power for days.
That's pretty wild. Well,
so wishing lots of love and luck to you guys. That's really scary.
Cool thoughts,
really,
man.
really scary.
Do what they did in that one Simpsons episode and open up the fridge and attach a tent to the fridge, and then you have like a tent fridge.
There's no power
thing. Yeah, so don't do that. OG family Star Wars, which is Star Wars, says Jeremy Bulloch is Boba Fett. God rest his soul. Yeah, I got the chance to meet him one time. Super kind individual, very, very humble, polite Englishman, and yeah, may he rest in peace for sure.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Matthew K with a follow-up says, having said that, this stream is saving my night. We're happy to save your night, bro, for sure. Echo-Based Network with a $5 holla says, story-wise, I think Mace Windu makes more sense, but money-wise for Disney, Luke and Grogu make sense. Either way, I hope the show is good. Thank you for the support. Hope you guys are doing well with your content over there as well, Echo-Based, if you're still watching. And yeah, I think story-wise, Mace Windu, because of Boba, yeah, I could see, I think maybe he's
Mace and who? Sorry, there's pairs.
Oh, he was saying that Mace Windu makes more sense story-wise for Book of Boba, probably because of the history that where Mace cut off his dad's head in Attack of the Clones.
Right.
But money-wise, Grogu and Luke, and I agree because I mean that's one of the things I thought was so wild about Mando too. I was like, yo, you just had your most popular character walk off with your second most popular character off of the show? Like, what are you doing? Like, that's such a weird choice. Like, what how do you want to end the show? Let's take the two most popular things probably ever in Star Wars and have them go out of the elevator. Like, it's like, what? Like, I don't know, but
I know. I'm not gonna lie. I felt the exact same way because, like, I don't give a fuck about
yeah, yeah,
Din Djarin. Like,
yeah,
just like, do
right,
they like? He's not. He is the main character, but he's not the main character. So when
yeah.
it's like Grogu and Luke walked away, I was like, "Why you guys get?"
Where'd you guys go? Camera, follow them. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, you're like, wait.
shoved in out of the way. Just like, fuck out of here, bro. I'm trying to go with these homies. These are the Jedi Force using amazing cutesy dude with freaking hopeful as Luke Skywalker. Yeah, no.
Bo-Katan's like, I have to, and I'm like, Bo-Katan, shut up. No one cares about you either. Like,
I know,
where
right?
you guys go?
It is true, but maybe that's why they're kind of dripping Luke
Stop
all
trying to
over.
make Bo-Katan happen.
Yeah, she's cool though. I like Katie.
Am I being a hater?
I liked Bo a lot, but she's definitely no Grogu or Luke. I mean, come on.
I
Let's
don't
see here.
know. I
Big,
just feel like
you didn't
that's a
like her?
narrative. It's not that I don't like her. It was just one of those moments where I felt like they're telling me to like her more than I actually did. Like, I wanted to
Yeah.
grow with her character. Like in Clone Wars, in Mandalorian,
Yeah.
I was like, who is this lady? Like, weirdly, the storyline they did with her sister in Clone Wars, I thought was excellent. That
Yeah.
was like,
Well, she
I
plays
really
a
cared.
much more standoffish, like, kind of character in that arc, which I think is a little bit more relatable, especially because her sister and everything around her is like so fluffy.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I can see your point about them kind of shoving her in our face in the episode because it was like
Yeah.
made to be such a big deal. But I do think that for me, the nostalgia glasses were on, so it was hard for me not to just love her. I was like, dude, it's Bo. Like, holy crap, you know what I mean? Let's see here. Big Stevie with a very generous $25 holla says, can't stay watching Blacklist, but here's my money. Catch you guys on the replay. Stevie, thank you so much for the love and the support,
Thank you.
man. Daniel
Well,
Fisher.
for future Stevie.
Yes.
Hello to Stevie in the future.
Hey, Stevie,
It's
in the
past
future,
Darren.
watch. Yeah, you know what, Stevie? That's true. You are watching us on the replay. By the way, I hope Blacklist was good. And we appreciate you around here, Stevie, for sure. Daniel Fisher with the $10 holla says, Josh/Theory went over Acolyte news. Thoughts, Darren? Loki is great and pumped. Cad Bane is back via Bad Batch. Boba has new life. Looking forward to it. Simping responsibly. F Warner Brothers and take my money. So, did you hear the Acolyte thing that he's talking about?
No.
Theory did a video on it today as well. But here's the thing. So Leslie Headland did an interview. And in this interview, she was talking about her writing process. And she was talking, she talked a lot about like diversity. She talked a lot about how she had a writer that had never seen Star Wars before, but she was looking to have that kind of perspective on there. And to me, frankly, it was a little bit of a weird interview. It's a little bit awkward for me to ask you your opinions on my anecdote retelling of an article and all this stuff. So, I mean, feel free to now judge her completely harshly or not. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think of those kind of comments?
So the writer for the Acolyte show made
Yeah.
a comment about diversity. You didn't really even tell me what kind of comment.
So let me see if I can find it here. Leslie
Like, I'm not sure what I got, but she said from that retelling you just said.
Yeah.
So she made a comment about a writer of hers not being able to write diversely.
No. She talked about how diversity was a big focus and how she was like super. Okay, here it is. The Accolade on making Star Wars your own. So within this article, oh geez, I don't want to read this whole freaking article. Let me see if I can pull up the comments here.
Hey, blurbs, tell us.
Yeah, we'd have to read this whole thing here, but she's talking about how she had a writer. Okay, so here's just one example. It says, for as long as there have been Star Wars, there's been LGBT fans and people of color embracing it. I know I was excited to learn that you were going to be the showrunner for The Acolyte, because she is queer. When you have queer people making anything, it creates a certain anticipation for more meaningful representation. How do you balance making your story more inclusive while also just kind of keeping in mind the considerable history involved? And she says, she gives like a long kind of answer here about this. And I think people pull out like moments of it and get mad about it, you know what I mean, or whatever. My take on it was that she being queer, and to a lot of people this is like a big deal, like they want that. They want authentic representation, etc., etc. There's a whole bunch of other people that are just like, hey man, it's just not my thing. And I think there's a group of people out there that are just getting tired of not necessarily
Right.
this idea or concept, but the fact that like media continues to try to make it a thing in some ways because I think it just polarizes people and they're just looking to get clicks. So
Oh, wait. Okay. I think Therese says that, or Trev said like she hired a writer for the show that doesn't know anything or has never
that
watched
had
Star Wars.
literally never watched
Maybe,
Star Wars. Yes.
that maybe was a diversity hire in the way that like they gave a diverse opinion as opposed to like not knowing anything about Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
In that regard, I get why people get upset about that, but at the same time, I think it's these journalists' jobs to
Right.
like ask that clickbaity question, like, as a queer person writing for Star Wars, how do you feel about being the queer voice for queer people? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's
Mm-hmm.
like I am sure she doesn't love answering those questions either, you know, but it's like if some journalist is gonna ask her, like she has to
You
answer
got to
and
play
give some
ball a little
kind of
bit.
like yeah, like some kind of anecdote that like both pleases like the LGBTQ community and you know pleases the Star Wars community. And I would hope, you know, someone who is trying to bring a diverse opinion and take on the Star Wars story, if they're hiring someone who has never seen Star Wars or doesn't know anything about the Star Wars universe, like I don't subscribe to the idea that like everyone needs to be a Star Wars superfan as long as there is a Star Wars superfan at the helm. Like
Sure.
if there's someone who just knows good writing and good character work, hell
That
yeah.
that can work. Yeah, for
You
sure.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like ground the story because sometimes, you know, things can get a little too fanboy, you know, like it's
Mm-hmm.
just like, oh man, that would be so awesome. But then you'd probably need someone who's like, okay, we're still trying to tell a narrative here, right? Like, does that make sense for this person? Does it
Yeah.
make sense for this character? So I think this might be getting taken out of context only because it's like these journalists are trying to write clickbaity articles about
Yeah,
representation.
I think it gets way taken out of context, and I just think
Yeah.
that it's I don't know how to explain it exactly, but it's just not really even a story to me.
Yeah.
Like I think the
Yeah.
whole idea of like talking about it, like I get why people talk about it. Like it was funny when it happened on stream last night because Theory was looking for what he thought was this really positive article about like the dark side and all this crazy stuff, and then he's like reading about
Yeah.
diversity, and then he's reading about you know, this person that never watched Star Wars.
Yeah.
We're both like, what the fuck's happening?
Yeah.
Like we wanted to be excited for the show, but that's more of a, just an attestament of journalism. To me, that's more of a statement on
Yeah.
journalism and culture
Yeah, just
war
how
and social media.
far they have fallen.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it was like it is a story that became a non-story that became a story because some shitty, you know, news site and article and journalist is trying to like
Yeah.
make it be like, you know, like the site for representation. Like, do you think that's what this writer wants to be talking about at every interview? Probably
Yeah,
not.
probably not. And I would say too, like, look, I'll be the first one to say if the show's bad, and could it be bad because it focuses on diversity? Sort of, but it
Maybe.
would, yeah, but see, the thing is, it would be that it focused on this and let other things fall to the wayside. If it
Right.
executed on all these elements and then happened to focus on diversity, it's going to be a technically sound and good show. If it
Yeah.
focuses on that feeling of Star Wars and interesting Star Wars characters and happens to have some diversity stuff in it, then it's probably going to be phenomenal. But like, I just think people right now are looking for a lot of reasons to be mad at Leslie or to not like the show. And by the way, in some
Yeah.
ways, that's Disney's fault because when they first announced the show, they announced it without knowing anything about it and called it a female centric show made by Leslie Headland, who is sort of notorious for being pretty left leaning. So, like, you can't
Yeah.
even necessarily be mad at people for getting a little bit triggered by that presented narrative. But ultimately,
Yeah.
again, a lot of that is just, it's more of a commentary on journalism than it is on the acolyte, in my opinion. You know?
Well, people are just from both sides sick of identity politics. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, of course, it always seems like it's the overwhelming narrative, but I am under the impression that, you know, what is being touted as, you know, important and the biggest deal in the world in the media is not a reflection of how people actually feel. And I think people are a lot more frustrated and sick of and don't really care about identity politics as maybe it's made seem to be.
Oh, for sure.
And so, you know, but I do also think that progress does come from having diversity in a room. So it's like the more opinions and the more perspectives and the more cultures that are represented, the better product you're going to get because it's going to be a more universal story or more universal product, whatever it is. I think that's true. I think the whole talking about it thing, people are just so sick of, because
It's
like one
it's
of
just
those things.
cringe, dude. Like look, like it's one thing to it's really just crazy to me because it really just comes down to the fact that again, these are mostly corporations. Like these are mostly corpos
Yeah,
that whether or not they're like this is their whole thing, they've been actively engaged in some pretty messed up stuff. Like on
yeah,
an institutional level, not on like a person by person level, but on an institutional level. And yet they make these little like, hey, it's okay because we're gonna put the rainbow flag on our thing for this month, or it's okay because we have Black Lives
yeah,
Matter and a fist on our website or whatever. And it's like I
yeah,
think for most people, for most normal people, it is so obvious what's happening. It's honestly, if I were a member of those communities, I'd feel a little patronized. You know what I mean? Like that's a little messed
yeah,
up to like take that thing and use it in that way. By the way, I think a lot of out of touch elitist people totally don't understand that that's happening. I 100% agree with that, but it's not that where like I lose it with people that are like making that point because I think it's a totally fair point to make. But where they lose me is then they try to tie it into this like agenda and this like big thing. It's like, no, bro, that's human nature. These people have been out of touch their whole lives. They don't know shit about what real
yeah,
life is like. It just happens to be now for a thing that's
yeah,
triggering you that you're like, oh, it's this
yeah.
agenda and it's this whole thing. It's like, no, man, it's just people being people is where I'm at with it. But
Yeah, I mean, these corporations have always lied to us and always provided a front-facing narrative that isn't always indicative of what exactly is going on. So,
yeah,
I mean, it's just another iteration of that. I think people get a little caught up because, like, you have a creative person representing their creative product, but that, a lot of times they're not even going to be honest about that too.
oh,
But
for
I
sure. Well, that's the other thing. We talked a lot about this about Falcon and the Winter Soldier because in some way, and by the way,
Mhm.
it's the Shang-Chi thing too. Like,
Yeah.
yo, Disney needs to wake the fuck up and be like, realize that like
Yeah.
getting the all Asian cast to do the big kung fu Asian hero is a little sus. Get like making it a
Mm.
big thing that you're like, we're gonna get Malcolm
Yeah.
Spellman and get him to do the black show and tell our black heroes, and it's gonna be so
Yeah.
damn good, and we're gonna get all these points because it's Malcolm Spellman, and he obviously is the perfect person to tell the plight of
Yeah.
African Americans. It's like it's a little fucking cringe even that because Malcolm Spellman could probably tell you an
Yeah.
amazing story about anything. Good storytellers could tell
Yeah.
good stories. You know what I mean? And it's a little patronizing even in itself to have that be a thing. It's like, man, it would be great to sort of get past that. You know what I mean? And just let
Yeah.
people
Which is
tell good stories.
why I'm a little suspicious of this article, right? Because I feel like the journalist to what's her name, Leslie?
Yeah.
Yeah, Leslie, I feel like that was a patronizing
It's a
question in a
totally
little bit. And
patronizing question.
and
Yeah.
like she did word it in a way that was like, a little bit more vague and stuff like that. But it felt like a very check the box off kind of question.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like if I'm gonna interview Leslie, I have to ask her this question at least once, so I can say that I got her to say the thing about the thing that everyone's
Mhm.
talking about. It didn't feel like it was genuine in regards to like what she's trying to do for Star Wars. It literally asked her if she like feels a responsibility of being like the voice for queer people. Like the fuck? Like
I
what kind
know,
of
right?
question
Like
is
queer
that to ask?
people are a monolith. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, like
it's just like, yeah, we're all the same, falling in line, waiting for you to be our Terminator or whatever. Yeah, it's a
yeah,
little weird
me
for sure.
writing a show for Star Wars is like total like what? Like can you
Definitely
just
doing
let
the
this
thing.
queer person who's a good writer be a like what? I don't know.
Yeah, man.
Like
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It's a little twisted up there. I would like to believe that we're getting on the other
yeah.
side of it, but then I don't know. I see like big celebs, like even Seth Rogen, who I absolutely love, and it just seems like
Mhm.
there's something. Again, I'm not 100% sure, but it just seems like
Yeah.
he's super out of touch. Like he doesn't understand what some of the things that he's saying and doing and acting that it's like it just feels so cringily out of touch that in some ways I think hurting his
Yeah.
brand. It's pretty interesting.
Well, it's like one of the reasons why nobody wants to hear any kind of political advice from celebrities. Like, shut
Right.
up. Like
Yeah.
you are so like your life, like while I'm not saying celebrities can't be like empathetic, smart people. Nobody wants someone like to hear someone from the ultimate form of privilege tell them what to do.
Agreed.
Okay? Like
Mhm.
so, it's like no one wants to hear who their celebrity is voting for. And every celebrity feels like, well, I have platforms. I have to like speak on my voice and just like say I have a responsibility. It's like,
Yeah.
no, you don't.
Dude,
Like it
it's so
just
cringe because again, it's patronizing. You know what it is?
yeah,
It's
let's
like,
all sing
oh,
Imagine.
don't worry, little small person that can't think right. You probably don't even drink your water out of $1,000 crystal glasses. So how could you know? Allow me to take the pressure off your little
Dude.
poor shoulders. This is the person you should vote for. You
Or
know
like
what I mean?
if you had everything that I had access to
Right.
and all the money and all the privilege and all the knowledge and all the world experience I've got as your famous, rich, and wonderful celebrity, then you would know the right thing to do, which is to vote for this person
Yeah.
and do this thing. And it's
Yeah.
just like, shut up. Like
Yeah,
you
for
don't
sure.
like know, you don't know what the hell it's like to be a normal person in America. So get the fuck out of here. Let's
Yeah,
all
it's pretty
that video where they sang that like they sing Imagine,
Yeah,
like
so
that black and
cringe.
oh god,
super
I was
cringe.
just like,
I know, and I wonder. I do wonder because I think that I've talked about this before, where I think the age of celebrity is on the way out. You know what I mean?
for
I
sure.
think it's on the way out. With the rise of social influencers and just the clarity, man,
Yeah.
and journos. Like, here's the thing: is the real tipping point is going to be when journos realize that like they don't need to be nice to these people anymore. In fact, if they're not,
But it
nice to
should be
them,
though. That's actually what journalism is supposed to be. It's supposed to be keeping
yeah,
the
power in check.
powerful entities.
Mhm.
Yes. Which is which is honestly, that's a whole other bad cats. We are the king and queen of rabbit holes, but
Yes,
like
yes.
that is
Let's
like
tear through these supers. Here we go. Matthew K says power is back. First world problems. Nerdvenging with AC, dude. That's great. I'm glad your AC is back. Mr. Anderson with a very generous $100 donation. The Simper is here, and he says, "I like the
Nice.
episode." But I do get why people didn't like it. What the hell was that time stone as power? Loki used to stop that building, though. Apologize.
Right.
This super is all over the place. Clearly, simprovised. Well done, sir.
Okay, well,
Well done.
Mr. Anderson is always in the Darren's Danger Room Discord chat throwing out those simp punch, which I love. Thank you, my simper. You're the best. But yeah, that telekinetic power was surprising. And then it immediately made me be like, has he done this before?
Right.
Like at this level? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't like bother me the same way it bothered other people, but hey, I can't deny it. It's a thing. People noticed. People talked about it.
Yeah.
There's the big theory that he has a time stone, that he grabbed a time stone from the TVA, and he's using that secretly to like do some of this stuff, and so that could possibly be the case. I don't know. I don't know. It's certainly interesting. Again, it wasn't something that I was like, yeah, whatever. Like he just used his powers to stop a building. Like, dude, seems reasonable within the purview of Loki powers. But then people were like, but if he could do that, then why didn't he do something crazier when he was trying to beat Thanos? And why has he never done it before, et cetera, et cetera?
I think it was just weird because it was like a building. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't shrapnel.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a knife or bullets. Like it was a fucking building. Like a building. Like that's a lot
another
of math.
explanation is the theory that I have that it's all a dream and that he's doing this inside of her head.
It was all a dream.
Yeah. So I don't know if that could make it.
Yeah, I don't know. That one was a little wild to me. That definitely like made my brain go Infinity Stones. Like I don't even know. Like I was like, I don't even know if that's Time Stone. That's like Power Stone. Like yeah, I don't know. In my mind, either he has one of the Infinity Stones or Mobius is coming to save him. I do have an inkling. I feel like Mobius is going to come in and like save them, and it's going to be this like introduction between him and Sylvie. Then they're all going to get on the same team. But that was a little bit. I was surprised that they used a building.
Yeah,
to, like,
true.
Exhibit that power.
True. There. Hopefully, it gets explained. I mean, especially I didn't really think it was that big of a deal. Brian Stone literally follows up though and says, "How did Loki get force powers?" Just kidding. F Warner Brothers. Always appreciate what you guys do for us. Keep killing it. Thank you so much, Brian. And
Thank you, Brian. That was so
that's sweet. We've been talking about the we people talking about that force power Loki, man. I don't know. My theory still is that it's a dream.
There was great like scene choreography in that whole sequence.
Oh, heck
I'm
yeah.
not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Like the way it moved through the whole city, I was just like, oh,
yes. I love the design. I love the design. It's super fun. I was into it. I love the train scenes too. I was like, this is a really dynamic episode. I really liked it.
Yeah. The use of different sets in this show is wild to me. Sets are very expensive, guys. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know if you know this, but it's just like you can tell when a show has a big budget versus small budget in their use of sets. Like, if a show or a movie is making use of a bunch of different settings, they got money. If they
True.
don't, they're working on a weird small budget. And
True.
so it's like the fact that every small scene is a new set. I was just like, Jesus.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
they are.
very impressive.
They
True. Maybe that's why they shortened it down. They were like, yeah, we literally can't afford this other shit that you wanted to
They're
do.
like, we built a train, inside train, outside train, weird city house,
Show
weird
randomly
other
goes
city.
to puppets for like 2 minutes. It's just like puppets. Like, and you're like, whoa, what the fuck?
Like, you get it though, right?
Yeah, we totally get it. Proxy says there's a weird love triangle between Loki, Sylvie, and Thor in the comics, but she prefers Thor and settles for Loki. LOL. But she's not a variant there. That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't. I don't know too much about that, but might have to look into it. Seems fun.
Yeah,
not?
I don't know. Thor's definitely not gonna be in this show though.
No,
He's too
definitely
busy
not.
getting like fucking
He's too busy.
paint
They
can
can't-
arms.
They can't afford his arms. they ran out of budget to get his arm. They actually have to CGI them down to make him look more normal.
His arms are just like J-Lo's ass now. They're just like insured for like
Yo,
how
for real,
many
I didn't insure
dollars?
those things, man. God damn. Sozu Sozin with a $2 holla says Odin put a spell on Loki so he looks normal? Question mark. Could be the case. I don't know. It's a little
Isn't he dead,
confusing
though?
to me. Yeah, Odin's gone, so wouldn't that spell revert? Yep.
Yeah,
Disproven,
I just think
Sozu.
that's I think that's one of those things that Marvel's just like, shh.
Yeah, I was like, shut your mouth. It's
Forget-
Tom
forget
Hiddleston.
about
Do you
it.
want to see Tom
Forget
Hiddleston in
about
the
it.
blue creepy makeup the whole season? Because I don't think
No.
you do. Shut your mouth. Is pretty much what. Yeah, and if you know
Do
what,
you want to see his hot and sexy face, or do you want to see blue gross dude?
I kind of want to see Blue Gross Dude though. If I'm being honest, like I like the Blue Gross Dude look, and they did have it in that one variant, which was cool. But
You are literally the only one, but that's cool.
yeah, probably. I would have
Every
loved to
like
see, you know what, that
sweaty
would've-
girl, like
I
just
know,
like,
right? She's like, oh my god.
like
You know what though? Tell me it wouldn't be kind of hot if they both went Frost Giant and then started making out, like Sylvie and Loki, Frost Giant making out. Like, come on, that's kind of hot, or I guess rather cold. See what I did there? All right, Matthew Glasgow said.
honestly, I'm gross and pervy enough, like that I'd be into that.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, would have been cool. Says
I'd
I'm
be
at work
interested.
till 2 a.m. But this stream life is not. But with this stream, life is nothing but a breeze. Oh, that's good to hear, man.
Aw.
That's nice.
That's
That's nice. Mars P with a $5 holla says the fight scenes were too cheesy in Loki for a Marvel budget, but Darren's Danger Room makes it better. Hashtag take thy money. Yes. Well, thank you, Mars.
Take thy money.
Yeah,
Well, I will
wow.
take thee money.
Yeah, a little
Um,
freaking old English on
wait.
us
Thee, thy,
there. Thy. Dude, I don't know.
thine,
Thine.
thee.
Duh. Thine.
Who speaks Old English, guys? Fact
who
check
does
that.
that?
I
Come
don't.
on.
I don't know which these and thys and thines work out. I don't know. Yeah. How did you feel about the action? I felt like the action was, better than okay. I felt it was good. I wasn't like blown away by it, but I thought it was still good.
I liked it. I thought she did great or her stunt double or whatever did great when she's in the TVA. Those were really fun. She tries to use her magic and she can,
Yeah.
and then she's like disintegrating people and fighting and stuff like that. I thought that was really cool. The
Yeah.
fighting between her and Loki is interesting. And then I felt like the action throughout the show, like on the train a little bit, was cool. And then
Mhm.
the very end of it, of course, was bananas. So no, I actually thought the
Yeah.
action was pretty strong. I don't I don't know. Proxy
I don't-
says Frost
I don't
Giant
know-
search traffic on the hub after this episode with the going up. That's funny.
What's the hub?
The porn hub.
Oh,
That's-
the.
yeah, that's what
Oh,
they call.
the hub.
Yeah,
The one and only.
The hub. Oh, I get it. I thought you understood
You know-
TikTok. I thought that was a TikTok thing where they're all like
Damn.
on the hub or whatever. TikTokers.
You know what? I'm always like a firm believer of if you can dream it, it exists on the internet. So I'm
Mhm.
sure that has already been. I'm sure after the second Thor movie, there was some Frost Giant porn that made
Yeah.
its way onto the hub.
Probably.
I kind of get what he means though, where like the fighting got a little. I think I'm thinking of the train scene. That one I wasn't super impressed. But you're right. Actually, I kind of like take it back. Like the fight
It was
with her at
fun.
TVA was awesome.
Yeah.
The fight with her in the city was great. Even honestly, the fights with them together, I thought they were both like great physical actors.
Yes.
No, it's still good for me. Still hit.
Yeah. I think it still slapped pretty well. Guys, we're just gonna hang out in the chat for like 5 or 10 more minutes, and we're probably gonna call it. Let us know if there's anything else on your mind. Of course, check out Darren Wood on her own YouTube channel. Check her out on the Twitters, on the Instas, on the TikTok. You're doing TikToks now?
Patreons.
You doing TikToks now? Or no?
No, I have no TikToks on my own account, but I do like to observe.
Yeah. You should maybe do some.
You can follow me on
Tiki
TikTok and
Talkies.
see nothing.
Yeah,
but
and
you
you'll
can
see
also
nothing. And you'll
go to
like
my
it.
Patreon, Instagram, or YouTube. That's the way it's at.
Yeah.
That's where it's at. What's up,
yeah.
chat?
What is
Get it
up,
in.
chat?
Get it in.
Yeah, get
Now's
in.
the time.
Now's the time.
Now's
y'all.
the time. It's your final
Josh,
moment.
Will you cover Bad Batch in the future? Harley says. Yes, I will. I'll probably make maybe some preview videos for the last couple episodes and maybe a season recap video or something like that. And
Yeah.
honestly, like I've been covering Star Wars more. I know it's more on like the rumor / scooping side. We've been doing watch parties behind the scenes for Bad Batch. I don't know if we'll be able to do one this week though, just because of the craziness with the channel and all that. But yeah, I like Bad Batch. But if I'm being real, guys, like there's just not enough there for me to really sink my teeth into. Like everybody's that's doing breakdown videos of Bad Batch. Like if I'm being honest, every week my breakdown would have been like, where's the rest of it? You know what I mean? Like literally every week I'd be like, here's what I want to know. Where's the rest of the show? You know?
Exactly how I feel. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I feel exactly the same as you. I'm down to do a recap at the end. So maybe we'll do that on a future show. We will
That'd be
do an
fun.
end of season recap. But
Yeah.
it's two Rebels season 1, Clone Wars season 1, Dave
Yeah.
Filoni in his bedroom imagining things. Can't help it, dude. He's a fanboy at heart. He
Yeah.
likes to do that stuff.
He also likes to drag things out. You know what I mean? Like for sure. Like, and I think the dude's brilliant, but like, bruh, like there's just some like you could have dropped this episode could have been episode 3, legitimately. Like all they've done leading up to like for 6 episodes is you learn a little bit more, you get a little bit more side stuff, and they're just trying to get money. Like it's been like, and I don't like to use this terminology all that much, but it does sort of feel like side quests. Like every single episode since episode 2 has been a side quest, like leveling up the characters, getting your charisma score up or some shit. Like I like it, but it's
someone who just got married in Skyrim, I appreciate that.
Nice. That's awesome. But that's what it feels like, and so it's like I'm into the show, but I think it would have been better to binge it or maybe to do like 3 at a time or something.
Yeah. I also like to always kind of like take a step back, and sometimes I like Star Wars ultimately is kind of like for kids, and they're trying to play the kids game, and this is a kids show, you know what I mean? And if this is getting like the new generation into Star Wars, then I'll take it, because that means Star Wars will be around forever.
For sure.
But like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like there are a lot of episodes that I watch. I'm like, all right, it's not for me. It's not for me.
Yeah, like it's just
like it's not for me. I don't like it. I mean, like it's literally not for me. Like it's for a
it's
child.
built for and even the last episode with Cad Bane, it's like dope, but really like you don't get me wrong, it was cool seeing that moment in the show, and he like takes out Hunter, and I was like, whoa, that's wild. But really and truly, guys, it's less than 5 minutes. It's less than 5 minutes of screen time. It's like it might be less than a minute of screen time, and like that's just not enough to get me really excited and hyped. Like it's just not. Like I like the characters, I like what it's doing for the lore and all that, but it's just not enough for me to be like, cool, man, I'm gonna stay up late, I'm gonna make content around this, I'm gonna really, just not doing it.
It just feels kind of silly, like taking it seriously in a way where it feels like it's a Saturday morning cartoon for kids, which ultimately is great. Like I have very emotional, wonderful memories of like the Spider-Man cartoon and the original X-Men cartoon. And look at me now. I'm just a nerd who grew up and is now talking about it on the internet. So if this Bad Batch show creates for future Joshes and Darrens, I'm all about it. But
That's
it does feel like we're giving like I don't know if we could give a full on breakdown of Bad like we could.
Nah, like it's just gonna, yeah. Again, like, and I think that's okay. Like, there's plenty of people making content and stuff about it, guys. And I talk about it whenever anybody asks or whatever. But yeah, it's just to me, not. It's not pithy enough. I can't chew into it. Matt Salami says, off topic, but did you guys see the newest season of Rick and Morty? That episode, I'm so happy that it's back. I haven't seen it. Did you check it out?
No, it came out on Sunday, and because I've been like so busy with work, like I've been so busy in work, I'm literally drowning. But I'm wearing a Rick and Morty shirt because
I saw
of
that.
it.
Yeah, that is a sweet shirt. That's really cool.
This is my favorite shirt that I own, and it's starting to disintegrate because I've had it for so long.
I hate when that happens.
But it's like a Days of Future Past Rick and Morty crossover shirt. Is this not the coolest shirt you've ever seen?
It's pretty freaking cool. It's pretty freaking cool. Is that Mr. Poopy Butthole in the bottom part of it too?
You better believe it.
That's amazing.
You better believe it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Let's see here. Matthew K says, am I the only one who would be mad hype for a live-action debut of Chopper from Rebels? We could see Rebels peeps in Andor. We could see the Rebels peeps in Andor. And I don't think you'd be the only one. I think Chopper's got plenty of fans, has one of the highest kill counts of any of the droids. He's got more kills than Darth Vader, actually, Chopper. Yeah, I've seen the stats. Let me look it up. Let me look it up right now because it's really funny. Let me see if I can find this. Chopper's kill count.
But then it's like, do we really know how many people Darth Vader has killed?
Chopper from Rebels kill count. They have like guesstimations.
I don't know if that's fair because if we're being honest, Darth Vader has not got that much screen time.
True. So this is really funny. It says the total tally is 19 confirmed direct kills for Chopper and 49,000 estimated indirect kills using sabotage, 20 estimated kills using explosives. He also killed 3 fellow astromechs and 1 other droid. Yeah, he's a savage. Yep.
Yeah. But then, does Darth Vader get credit for obliterating Alderaan?
That's true. Does he get the billions? I don't know. Does he get those billies? I'd say no, because he's not directly in charge. I think Tarkin's the one. Tarkin gets them. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's what I said. I said what I said in a minute.
But then it's like, in a 30-year gap, I don't imagine Darth Vader was just around, playing this. I'm sure he was out.
Yeah. Yeah, he's killing a lot of people for sure. Yeah. But did he? Yeah. Chopper's still the incredible kill count, Chopper. So
if anyone cares, as one of my favorite YouTubers, the Nerd Writer, has a great video on Darth Vader and talks about all the fact that how he is an elusive character in pop culture history. That we actually don't really see him on screen that much, but he is iconic in a way that.
Yeah, that's fair. He's actually not on there much at all. Actual minutes of screen time. He's just really, he's really. But
he's just an icon. It's crazy.
Yeah, yep. He's used really brilliantly. In the movies. Mars P says, "Who's down to see Natalie Portman fight Scarlet in Love and Thunder? To fight Scarlet, let's make it happen. Imagine song, Take Thy Money. Wait." Fighting Scarlet, like the Scarlet Witch?
Like Scarlett Johansson?
Or Scarlett Johansson, yeah.
Which Scarlet?
Fight Scarlet in Love and Thunder. Yeah.
Honestly, I don't want to see either because I don't like Natalie Portman in this in the MCU. Sorry, I said it. And I think she's a fantastic actress, and I love her as an actress and as a face. I mean, she's so beautiful, stupid. But I don't love her in the MCU. I think she's kind of a drag.
Yeah, she wasn't all that great, to be honest with you. Yeah, she phones it in a little bit, especially in that second one.
Yeah, and it's just I always get the vibe from her that she's too good for it, and it's not even just her fault. Literally, the whole Jane storyline, the way she was written in the first 2 movies was so shitty.
Yeah, for sure.
The material that they gave her was awful. She was such a dumb, stupid, just a classic female archetype trope that they're here, Natalie Portman, be every female character in an action movie since the dawn of time. And she didn't. I felt like she didn't like it, which is fair. I don't know. I don't know. I'm torn about Natalie Portman in the MCU.
I think that's fair. I think some people share your concern. People were not exactly unanimously pumped when she came out on stage and
Taika is at the helm though, and Taika
do good.
He's a great Taika is a great writer.
Taika do real good. So
actually, I'm happy to be. I'm so happy to be proven wrong. I can't wait.
yeah, well, I'm excited for that film, regardless of
Yeah.
how she does. I mean, just to try to see those arms in IMAX, man. You know.
Yeah.
Sozu Soz.
You're just like, whoa, 3D.
Right? Holy shit, man! Did you see his arm? Sozu Sozin says, if it was up to Odin's spell, then wouldn't that mean Cap wasn't really worthy?
Wait, what?
Up to Odin's spell, wouldn't it mean the enchantment on Mjolnir? Is that what you mean?
What? But then he would be worthy.
I'm a little confused by that one, Sozu. I'm sorry.
I can.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Do you got an explanation?
Clarify, please.
No, I have no idea. My brain ain't working all good, man. So, yeah, we'll just do this.
Okay. Wait. Someone says Odin's spell doesn't stop when he dies. So if Odin's spell is responsible for Loki's whatever the fuck, then it doesn't stop when he dies. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you, Dev Patel.
Fair point, Sozu. As I said, and I understood it right away, of course, because that's such a good point, of course.
Yeah. Actually, no, who's Devin Patel? I came up with that. Yeah, that was
Devin
all me.
Pahoo, right? But go tell someone else about it.
I was the one, cracked it immediately. But that you know what? Marvel can use that explanation. They can just be like,
whoop, take that one. They're watching.
We said what we said.
True. Dave, it's going to be worse when they steal it than when we did. Rustic Reaper Co. with a $5 host says, I think Loki is going to use the Bifrost to get out somehow late to the chat. It's the future, so who knows if it's around. Maybe Heimdall is back. I think Loki's going to use the Bifrost to get out somehow late to the chat, but it's the future. That could be. That's a
Heimdall need to, or I guess it doesn't need to be Heimdall because what's his fuck?
Asgard is destroyed after that in 2077, though.
Yeah.
Unless it gets
can the Bifrost cross realms?
No, he's saying that in that time there should be a Heimdall in that time where they're at. Technically speaking, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think it's either going to be Mobius,
or Mobius,
some kind of Loki tee plan that saves the day.
Yeah, I'm down. All right, everybody, we're going to call it there. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Thank y'all so much. And also, once we get things back sorted out, you've got to come back again to Darren's Danger Room at 10 p.m. Wednesdays.
Don't you like the sweet, sweet sound of my voice? Don't you want to hear it every Wednesday?
Check it out over on our live streaming channel when it gets unbanned. Thanks a lot, Warner Brothers, you motherfuckers. All right, any last things you want to say, Darren, before we get
Nope, that's it. It's always a pleasure and a lovely time to stream with you. We had to figure it out for this week, but you are a delight and a wonderful contribution and creator of this community. So thank you, Jim.
Hey, thank you so much for carrying me tonight as we had to talk about all the weird Loki on Loki love. You know, it makes me really uncomfortable, and my palms were sweaty. But you held up my hand and took me through that valley of weird, awkward. Yes, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on here? This is weird." So yeah, no, thank you guys. We'll see y'all soon. As I always say, I hope you guys are having an awesome and nerdy day. We'll see you in the next video.